このラベルは何ですか？
こちらは GOTS というオーガニックの認証基準のラベルになります。GOTS というのが世界オーガニック繊維基準というオーガニックの基準の受けていますよというラベルになります。
I recall as we go back around the year late 80s and early 90s, we started getting regulations from Europe on environmental areas. We use perhaps over 1,000 chemicals at different stages. Everywhere there are different chemicals that are used. The governments came out with their own initiatives in the form of environmental labels, in the form of eco-labels. Many private companies came with their own eco-labels, and each label had their own criteria. However, one thing that was common to all these labels at that time was that they only conformed to the end product. They only looked at the finished product. That the finished product was clean, was not toxic, did not have any harmful effect on the skin, and so on. But it did not take into account what went wrong or what happened during the production of these articles. So in a sense, they were not complete. That's when the approach changed and people started looking at the life cycle of a product and sustainability of the product. This was from Japan, from UK, from Germany, and from the United States. And groups of people from all these countries came together to draft the first version of the GOTS standard for textiles.
The textile industry is a global industry. Its scope is gigantic. Production takes place all over the world, as does consumption. African textiles may be produced in the Far East. European clothing comes from India or from Latin America or from the factory down the road. The industry places a heavy burden on soil and water, on the modes of transportation used, on the millions of men and women who work in textile production and distribution. Consumers are increasingly aware of the impact of textile production. More and more of them want to know exactly how and where their clothing is made. Logos and labels have become increasingly important. Terms such as organic, eco-friendly, sustainable, socially responsible are rarely protected when it comes to clothing. It is for this reason that a number of major market parties got together to develop a label that really means something. The GOTS label. This label is backed by the Global Organic Textile Standard. The standard looks at all relevant health and environment issues, as well as at social factors. The goal, to provide transparency and product security so that the seller knows what he is selling and the consumer knows what he is buying. This standard gives the protection consumers look for. Inspection and certification are key elements of the global standard. Qualified trained inspectors, such as this control union inspector in Tirupur, India, visit each production site. They know what to look for. Inspectors follow the complete production process. While many standards look only at the raw material used for a final product, the global standard follows all the stages of production: cleaning, spinning, weaving, dyeing, finishing, sewing. Samples are taken at different stages of the production process. Samples of the raw material, samples of the finished textile. In laboratories around the world, such as Texan Lab in Mumbai, India, the samples are examined.
Samples are received by the laboratory, typically by hand, something like what's happening here.
Analysts look for traces of unacceptable pesticides and chemicals. The global standard stipulates that textiles bearing the GOTS label also meet quality standards. Clothing will be tested for possible shrinkage and for its fastness to sunlight, perspiration, saliva, or the friction of a washing machine.
So this uses a xenon arc lamp which simulates sunlight, and you're supposed to find out how much of a sample fades when it is exposed to this light. One of the most important tests that are done for global organic textile standard are the tests for restricted and banned chemicals.
The GOTS label also considers all accessories such as zippers, buttons, shoulder pads, appliques. These also need to meet the high GOTS requirements when it comes to health or the impact on the environment. The inspector makes sure that organic production is kept separate from other production so that there is no danger of contamination. The inspector examines the working conditions at the production facility. Are the facilities hygienic? Is there proper lighting and ventilation? But there is more that consumers want to know. They want to be sure that the workers in the textile factory are not underage, that they have the right to organize. They want to know that the workers are receiving a decent wage so that their children can go to school. The inspectors interview the workers about working conditions, but they also check for themselves to see that everything is in order. The inspector checks to see which chemicals are used, whether they are permitted. The global standard provides that dyes, prints, softeners, and other additives that are used in the manufacturing process must meet the highest standards when it comes to what touches the consumer's skin, but also regarding what remains in the ecosystem long after the t-shirt has been discarded. An important aspect of the global standard is its concern for the responsible purification of the water used. How can pollution of water be reduced? Are there proper facilities for the treatment of wastewater?
Most important test this.
Based on the results of the inspection, a certificate is issued by a registered certification organization. These certifiers are themselves officially accredited to ensure that they are independent, competent, and reliable.
Sertifikasyon kuruluşu organik kalitesini garanti eden, kontrol eden kuruluştur. Tüketici organik sertifikalı ürün almalıdır.
Accreditation is where we check that the certifier is doing the job according to the international norms or the norms set by GOTS. That means that you get not only the assurance that the certifier is checking that the production is done according to the standards, but you get our assurance that the certifier is doing that job properly.
The Global Standard Database is a valuable tool for producers, buyers, and consumers. Here, all parties working according to the global standard are represented. The database is designed to bring these parties into contact with each other and to enable brands and retailers to look for qualified suppliers. The partners in the international working group that developed the global standard are IVN from Germany, JOCA from Japan, OTA from the US, and the Soil Association from Great Britain. 4 major players in the organic textile industry. They in turn are backed by further stakeholders, environmental organizations, trade unions, religious organizations, and, very important, members of the industry. These organizations work through the International Working Group to develop policy on new issues that emerge. They work through the International Working Group's Technical Committee to constantly update the technical specifications in response to new technologies, new insights.
With whom you need to share information. Traceability is becoming more and more important in the food sector. So they are reversing their policy, so I think it wouldn't make sense.
Because the industry itself is involved in developing the global standard, the standard is a practical and workable one. Realistic and feasible limits are set. The GOTS label means that at least 70% of the fiber content is certified organic. The GOTS label grade organic even requires 95% certified organic fibers. 100% organic is not possible for all kinds of textiles. Synthetic fibers are sometimes necessary for strength or stretch for some product groups. The GOTS label takes this into account. Certified organic natural fibers from plants such as cotton are produced without chemical pesticides and fertilizers. The plants and animals used have not been genetically modified. Animals producing wool have been raised pursuant to the appropriate standards for responsible animal husbandry.
Quizás lo más importante de GOTS es que es un estándar que, si bien aplicado originalmente para algodón, se dedica hoy a otras fibras naturales como por ejemplo lana.
Dat mag dus wel en we willen eigenlijk proberen door goede wijze.
Die man aufstecken muss, und genau in der einen Reihe passen. Das muss man sehr, sehr lange gelernt haben. Ja. Für die Strumpfproduktion braucht man sehr viel elektrische Energie und seit einem Jahr sind wir in der Lage, die Hälfte der elektrischen Energie, die wir hier bei der Kloppenburg GmbH verbrauchen, selbst zu erzeugen, und zwar CO2-frei mit Solarzellen. Im nächsten Jahr werden wir diesen Anteil auf 100% erhöhen.
Vielmehr muss der Verbraucher am zertifizierten Bekleidungsstück erkennen, dass ein unabhängiger, transparenter Standard dahinter steht.
The textile production process is carefully watched by GOTS, but still has to meet the needs of the consumers and the possibilities available to producers. Bleaching is allowed, but not through chlorination or the use of similar harmful agents. Dyeing is allowed, but the dyes used must be specially approved to be neither health-threatening nor harmful to the environment. Similarly, finishing of the textile to make it fit and soft, for example, is possible, but only through physical treatment such as the application of heat or by the use of specially approved auxiliaries. In this way, the global standard is realistic and workable. At no point in the process may harmful materials such as toxic heavy metals, formaldehydes, aromatic solvents, or chlorophenols be used. All substances used must meet high requirements with regard to aquatic toxicity and biodegradability to minimize the environmental impact. Each chemical substance must have been assessed through laboratory tests and other appropriate tools and must be registered by an approved certification body before a manufacturer is authorized to use it. Only in this way can it be assured that all auxiliaries meet the strict GOTS criteria. For the young consumer and the consumer of the future, environmental and social aspects will be embedded in fashion. Terms such as ethical fashion, sustainable fashion, and social accountability are increasingly a part of fashion conversation and are being translated into modern, attractive design. Consumers and designers are asking questions. The global standard has the answers.
田村と申します。文化女子大学で、クロージングフィジオロジーといって、人間と衣服との関係について見ています。もちろん今も地球環境の問題っていうのはかなり差し迫った問題で、エネルギーの問題もそうだし環境汚染の問題も両方ありますよね。でオーガニックコットンはその生産プロセスがオーガニックであるということの保証ですので、これはやはり生産する方たちにとっても地球環境全体にとってもぜひ私は推薦するべきだというふうに思っています。
The Global Organic Textile Standard stands for a healthy, sustainable, and socially responsible way of life with minimum negative impact on air, water, and soil. Products with the GOTS label have been produced in an eco-friendly and healthy production process. They meet high-quality standards and they have been produced under decent working conditions. This is what the GOTS label stands for.